In the heart of the darkest night, images of chains appear, entwined with an ethereal, jade-colored mist. They intertwine, creating an aura of mystery. Slowly, words materialize. Do you remember? The light emanating from the book intensifies, its ornate patterns becoming more vivid, as if whispering tales of a forgotten past. Within the book's pages, the image of a figure standing atop an endless staircase slowly unveils a hidden secret. Legend has it, this is the story of a god among mortals who discovered a gateway to another world. And the story begins when that gateway opens. In that very moment, amidst the whirlwind of life, human figures scramble and flee in panic. Amidst this chaos, horrifying images, the chilling sight of fanged monsters began to appear. Terror gripped everyone as grotesque creatures poured out from the gate. Sharp fangs clashed once more, and then words appeared. Indeed, the world beyond the gate, it declared definitively, is the demon realm, a place ruled by ferocious and cruel demons. Amidst the pitch-black darkness and the crimson hue of blood, countless monstrous beings swarmed out from the gate, and our peaceful world was ravaged. Skulls lay scattered on the ground, swords plunged deep into the earth, and crows flew chaotically in the gloomy sky. Countless lives were lost, and everything was stained crimson red. Then, a glimmer of hope appeared. The King of humanity offered a fervent prayer to the gods. The king knelt, hands clasped together, and looked up with a desperate plea. "Oh, great deity, please grant us the strength to destroy these evil magical creatures." Immediately after, a blinding light appeared in the sky. Fragments began to crack and fall, signaling that the monsters were turning to ash and vanishing. From then on, some people began to receive special marks. Some were placed on their shoulders, others on their chests or foreheads. They were enveloped in divine power and granted magical abilities. These individuals gradually became revered, and it was believed that those possessing the power to fight against the terrifying monsters were called mages. Thus, a gentle light returned, and peace was restored to the world. Before us stands a young boy atop a pile of skulls. How terrifying! But then, footsteps echoed across the floor and abruptly stopped. The person stopped in front of the door. The words reappeared. The one who answered the king's prayer back then. The person seemed surprised. Memories came flooding back. Could it be that the boy has returned? His eyes were deep blue, with small lips and longer hair. Through his eyelashes, the word God appeared in large letters. Under the cool breeze of a bright, moonlit night, gentle, melodious sounds emanated from a brightly lit building. The building was still lit. Inside the room, melodious music continued to play, surrounding princes and princesses, dressed in magnificent attire. Everyone was laughing and chatting merrily. Suddenly, a voice boomed out. "This is so frustrating." Appears. Before them stands a girl with shimmering golden hair, Sealin, as someone behind her drapes a fur cloak over her shoulders. Stunningly beautiful, she wears a look of annoyance, furrowing her brows as she says, "You said this was a gathering of mages?" The person behind her can only offer a nervous laugh. Standing above, she looks down to see the party still in full swing. She complains, "I wouldn't have come if I knew this place would be full of annoying nobles." The girl behind her, holding Sealran's hair, thinks to herself, "You're so loud, Sealran." Then Sealran continues, "I heard the black magician might appear, but it turned out to be a complete lie." By now, Sealran has descended the stairs. She says, "I'm sure there will be other chances. I'll just sing one song, alright?" The girl following her replies, "Alright." There's a magical creature warning in the Reuben forest. Rumor has it the caravan suffered severe losses. Apparently, it was a horrifying scene. On a dark and stormy night, a clueless caravan of carriages wandered close to where a ferocious demon resided. Hearing this, she scoffed and said, "And yet, these bothersome nobles can still hold a banquet? How ridiculous." The girl behind her could only call out, "Sealin," hoping she wouldn't be so blunt. Then, she closed her eyes and thought, "I truly want to meet the black magician." Now, in her dazzling dress, she took the stage. Before her stood a luxurious microphone. The audience below began to murmur excitedly. "The finale has finally begun. I never thought I'd get to hear Sealin sing. They say her voice is like the song of angels. I wonder if the rumors are true." Suddenly, her eyes flew open. She had no idea what was going on. She saw everyone's faces turn pale and fill with terror. What was she thinking? The song hadn't even started yet. Why does everyone look so strange? She asked. It turned out that from behind, magical creatures had swarmed the theater. They glared at everyone with glowing red eyes, sending the audience scattering in fear. She glanced behind her. She came face to face with the horrifying monsters. Then she screamed, "Ah!" Their crimson eyes bore into the glass, as if they would shatter at any second. Sealin trembled. What is that?" She was so shocked that she froze, unable to do anything but watch as the creatures smashed through the glass. Suddenly, a shout pierced the air. Sealin, her eyes widened in surprise. Out of nowhere, a man rushed towards her, his sword slicing through the thick fog. Those grotesque creatures were poised to strike with their razor-sharp teeth. "Look out!" The man blurred past her, the force of his movement sending her hair flying. She could only watch, frozen in place. With a surge of power, he charged towards the monsters, meeting their advance. A gust of wind swept through, ruffling the hair that fell across his forehead. His face was a mask of cold determination. The monstrous lizard-like creatures continued to claw at the exterior of the theater. With one final push, he unleashed all his strength, forcing the monsters back from the glass. In that moment, she felt, still covered in the black blood of grotesque creatures, from the brutal battle. Standing amidst the pool of black blood left by the monsters, and shards of shattered glass, she collapsed onto the floor. A subordinate rushed to her side, yelling, Sealin's subordinate trembled, crying out, "Oh my God! Are you all right?" Meanwhile, Sealin sat dazed, muttering. That person, her wide eyes stared towards where the incident had occurred. She believed it was him. It had to be him. She recalled the night those monsters were slain, believing it was the black magician of Orion. Under the bright moonlight, his figure standing atop a skull was vividly clear. He had piercing emerald green eyes, long hair obscuring his face, and a black cloak that exuded an aura of mystery. "My name is Blue." Helped to her feet by a servant, she looked back and declared, "It's definitely him. He's the black sorcerer." The girl comforted Soren. "Calm down, I understand. We need to get you to safety first." Someone in the theater asked, "The black sorcerer?" Panic erupted in the auditorium. As people collapsed to the ground, voices murmured, "The black sorcerer is here? I've heard of him. He's from a notorious place called Opium. He's the one who saved countless lives that day." Suddenly, from the shattered window, Ro appeared unexpectedly. "Ro is pronounced ad." He approached her and stammered, She was so startled she could only manage. "Huh? What?" he asked. "Are you hurt?" She replied awkwardly, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm all right." Blue looked down, hesitantly saying, "That's good then." Though the timing wasn't quite right, she looked up at him with sparkling eyes. The waitress also looked up with wide eyes, expecting something. He placed a hand on his chest and said sincerely, "Could I ask you a favor?" Soren clasped his hands together and said loudly, "Of course, anything." He gently reached inside his shirt, searching for something. He softly said, "Well." Amidst the ravaged landscape, a pool of black blood from the slain monsters, and debris lay scattered across the ground. He handed her a piece of paper and said, "Could I have your autograph?" She asked in surprise, "My autograph?" He held out the paper and a pen towards her, saying, "Yes, right here." She asked again, "Is that all?" She thought he would say something more. Funny, but I said to include her name as well. It was a bright and beautiful morning, with a tower flying a blue flag at its peak. It looked truly majestic. Whispers arose from the crowd. "Is that the black magician?" Those nearby also murmured, "The black magician?" He, with his hat pulled low, concealing his face, thought, "I always imagined this. Walking among people, and them whispering about me. Is he returning from a mission? Did he complete his task? Oh, the black magician. I'd love to talk to him." He thought to himself, "I hate crowded places." Then slightly tilted his hat, muttering, "That's why I avoid coming here." In this form, a gasp of "Oh" echoed from somewhere. Suddenly, from afar, a girl called out a greeting. "Wait a second, isn't that Blue?" This caught his attention. A blonde woman holding a stack of documents, named Jane, asked him, "What are you doing at the main gate at this hour?" He addressed her, "Jane." The two whispered to each other. She said, "I'm guessing it's because of the master, right? Are you here to report on a mission?" His thoughts exposed, he reluctantly confirmed, "Yes." It wasn't a pleasant task after all. She said with a light-hearted chuckle, "You finally finished it, huh?" As if I had a choice, weak as I am. He pointed at the documents in her hands and asked, "By the way, what are you holding?" She seemed flustered. "Oh, this? It's nothing, just paperwork." Their voices echoed in the area. Rose said, "I have to go. The master must be in his study. Let's eat together later." Gunn replied, "Sure." As she turned to leave, a piece of paper fluttered to the ground, catching his attention. He picked it up and called out, "Miss Gunn, you dropped this." His eyes widened as he looked at the paper. It read, "This is for you. For any requests, the most popular figure in the Black Magician District has arrived. For any inquiries, please contact the Black Magician." Below the text was a picture of him in a hooded cloak, holding a rose, looking mysterious. He was speechless. Gunn turned back and saw him holding the flyer. Her face darkened, and she panicked, yelling, "Ah, Blue, you saw it." He was stunned, but managed to ask, "Did Master make this?" She scratched her head sheepishly, looking down. "Well, about that. He told me to keep it a secret." But then Gunn quickly looked up. Confidently, she declared, "I completely disagree." "See? But Master." She looked around, but he was gone. All she saw were people scrambling to pick up the paper she dropped. Exasperated, she called out, "Beck-Hyam!" Elsewhere, someone was leisurely sipping water. He stood up and let out a in the spacious office. He leaned against his desk, turned around, picked up his teacup, and prepared a drink. "It's a beautiful day, isn't it?" he remarked. Just then, Dujin burst through the door. He spun around, annoyed, and asked, "Hey, who kicked down the door like they were trying to demolish?" As he spoke, a piece of paper suddenly slapped him in the face, almost knocking over his teacup. "Ah, what the—" "You just stand there without saying anything," he exclaimed. Looking closer, he recognized the person and called out, "Deno." Contrary to his previous annoyance, he was unusually relaxed. A cheerful voice said, "Welcome. I've been waiting for you." Seeing no reaction from the man, the boy looked confused, set something down on the table, and asked, "What's wrong? Did someone give you a hard time on your way here?" The question only infuriated the man, causing him to yell, "You're the one giving me a hard time. Look at this." Holding up a piece of paper, the boy looked at it closely and asked, "This?" After reading it, the boy acted decisively. He turned, opened the door, and threw the paper outside. Shielding his eyes with his hand, as if looking for something, he chuckled awkwardly. "Huh, it's gone. What did you want me to see?" Watching him from behind, the man was speechless, his jaw hanging open. He looked clearly annoyed. "Are you kidding me?" He recalled the embarrassing moments of walking down the street, being surrounded by people who recognized him and yelled, "Oh, the Black Magician, the Black Magician," he said. "Lately, I hear this commotion everywhere I go. Didn't you tell me to join Open? Looking like this? And now you're doing all this without even asking me?" His grumbling echoed in my ears, making me too embarrassed to show my face. He was annoyed, but his master argued, "Well, Open's biggest star, Lo, is so shy. It's understandable." Suddenly, Lo slammed a paper with Sealin's signature on the table. He stared blankly, his whole body flinching in surprise. He cowered and let out a startled yelp. Then he picked up the paper and exclaimed, "Oh, you succeeded getting Sealin's autograph," he said in a monotonous voice. "This is the last time I'm doing this nonsense. For the mission." The master sighed, "Haze," and said there was no other way. He pointed at the stack of papers on the table and said, "Find Mrs. Aaron's lost puppy. Deliver Joan's cheesy love letter." And so on. "There are still so many noble missions awaiting you." "Tons," he exclaimed in annoyance. "Forget it." He slammed the paper down on the table. The master said praisingly, "But you did retrieve it after all. They say Miss Sealin is quite picky, so she never talks to strangers." He retorted, "She didn't seem like that at all." Still, she seemed a bit surprised by the sudden ambush. The master looked up and asked, "Sudden ambush?" Picking up the paper and looking at it again, he said, "The Ravi region, where Miss Sealin operates, is supposed to be a safe zone. Did you encounter a group of bandits?" He simply replied with a single word, "No." He affirmed that it was a demon. Memories of that monster came flooding back. He considered it to be a rather weak one, not possessing overwhelming power. But for such a monster to appear in Rave, a place protected by top-tier mages, was quite perplexing, wasn't it? Sensing something amiss, his master sat down heavily and said gravely, "You're right, this is highly unusual. We need to investigate this thoroughly." He then turned back and wondered aloud, "Say, I can't believe you still managed to get Soren's signature in that situation." That comment truly irked Blue. "Who made me do that in the first place?" Sitting before him, the other person said, "That's not the point." His voice rang out. "How long do you intend to stay in this form, anyway?" He said with a frown. "Thanks to that AI, I keep getting assigned these bizarre missions. I've accumulated way too much magic power." Hearing his complaint, the other guy chuckled, haha. Then, surges of power began to emanate from him. His eyes glowed brightly as he declared, "Your name is Blue." On the back of his hand, a symbol of some kind was slowly forming. He swung his arm to the side. Words like release and awaken materialized in the air. Witnessing his transformation, the other guy rested his chin on his hand and remarked, "Oh, interesting. Seems like you're stronger than the last time we met, huh?" Taking off his hat, his blue-black hair vanished, reverting back to Rude's original state. With his white hair, he asked, "Is that so?" Then he dismissed it as unimportant. He slammed his hand on the table and said seriously, "We finally got Sealran's signature. Give me a proper mission now." He lifted his impassive face. Across from him, his master's gaze was gentle. He spoke again, seriously, "Why?" Before he could finish, the other cut him off, Gioldo. Looking at him intently, he said, "After that day, many mages, even ordinary people, are watching you. In fact, Shiman of the Association is hunting you with a burning rage." He added, "Things will only get more dangerous from now on. We can't continue like this. I'm worried about that." Still dissatisfied, he pressed, "And yet you make me stay in this form?" Surprised, he asked, "You have another one?" He retorted, "Don't joke around. Are you going to give me a mission or not?" Leaning forward, he said, "Fine. We have a rather important mission. The place looks quite grand. An angel stands amidst opulent and magnificent rooms. You said it's related to an auction house that only opens every 3 years. A place that deals in rare and unique items. A sparkling yellow gem, radiating luxury." The auctioneer's voice continues to resonate. "However, in this auction, we've received intel that an inscribed magic stone will be up for bidding." He asks, "A high-grade magic stone?" You confirm, "Exactly, but the problem is, thousands of eyes are on that stone." You continue, "Other mages have also caught wind of this." Steepling his fingers on the table, you say, "You understand what I'm getting at, right? This mission could be incredibly dangerous." Amidst the cluttered room, the owner is intently examining something. He opened it and stared at the paper. He hesitated, telling himself he couldn't give this to him. If he saw it, he knew he'd go ballistic. It was an acceptance letter. Name, Ryu Crazy, age 15. Congratulations on passing the Helios Magic Academy's basic aptitude test and meeting all requirements. We are pleased to inform you that you have been accepted into Helios Magic Academy. Helios Magic Academy, it sounded like a prestigious school. The scene shifted to a large plaza with a vast dome overhead. Everyone present wore a strangely somber expression. At the center of the plaza, a man and his soldiers were marching into the great hall. He slowly raised his hand. Then, he bowed deeply and respectfully. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for waiting." He finished speaking and looked up. A sly smile spread across his face. Standing before everyone, he declared boldly, "All right, let the long-awaited auction begin." Among the large crowd of attendees, someone sighed. Irene, in an elegant dress, held her head and complained, "There are so many people. That magic stone called the Scion Heart must be something special, right?" A blond man in a mysterious outfit answered her, "It's rare to see a highest-grade magic stone appear these days." She just fell silent. "Yeah." Irene hesitated for a moment. She wondered, "There are certainly a lot of mages here. Will everything be all right?" The man's face was finally revealed when she asked, "The Black Magician?" "That's Ludger, a true Black Magician." "Why not?" He explained, "First of all, my goal is different from theirs. Moreover, my purpose itself is different." Ludger thought about his objective. She, seemingly exasperated, simply called him Ludger. He was lost in his own thoughts. This might actually be fun." Rewinding a bit, Eve had asked, "So, what's the mission this time?" His employer picked up a document and replied, "There's someone with a deep grudge against a man who will be present at the auction. Exact revenge for him?" A flicker of surprise crossed Eve's face. "Exact revenge," the man calmly clarified. "Indeed, an evil sorcerer completely ruined our client's life, and now they desire appropriate retribution." He handed him a paper. That was the request. "Based on what we've found, he's your typical villain, preying on and deceiving the vulnerable. Tonight, his victims aren't just one or two. Moreover, he's very good at exploiting loopholes in the law." Rudo stared intently at the paper, hesitating slightly. "But Rudo asked. This mage, he's supposed to be an easy target, right? Name, Ramaxio, 38 years old. Male title, officially ranked club mage. Rank 3 mage. Low mid-tier. Important information. Former resident of Danbach. Has a criminal record. Received warnings and was expelled. Currently moving frequently. The client smiled brightly and said, "That's precisely why I'm asking for your help, Grupp." Hearing that, Grupp's face darkened in frustration. "You don't expect me to kill him, do you?" His voice suddenly dropped, taking on an ominous tone. "Of course not. A villain like that can't be eliminated so easily." It piqued his interest, so he offered more information. "Because a high-grade magic stone will appear, many people will gather here. From auction participants, spectators, to those with ulterior motives." With an impassive tone, he continued, "In such a chaotic place, we first need to find him, having heard his master's instructions. And once we find him, we will capture him." Then he imagined capturing and breaking his limbs, brutally torturing him, but surprisingly, with the utmost seriousness. The final blow is to strip him naked. A terrifying silence filled the air. Thinking he misheard, he asked, "What?" The man calmly reiterated, "Just strip him naked." After a moment of stunned silence, he ripped the paper, his face dark. "No," he yelled. The client seemed confused. "Huh? Why? I didn't tell you to kill him. Just take his clothes off." He retorted, exasperated. "How can I do that?" "No." "Why? Do people in China do that? What kind of revenge is this?" "It's the client's request," the man replied. "Calm down and let me explain." The client then launched into a lengthy explanation. According to the client's information, there are rumors that he's a member of COCL. He was surprised. COCL? Isn't that the criminal organization that disappeared a long time ago? The man mumbled, "Yes. Back then, the government declared they were completely wiped out. But considering the enormous bounty placed on their heads later, it wouldn't be surprising if some managed to escape. The Leighton auction house has a deep-seated grudge against Clock. Rumor has it that Clock members have a tradition of branding their organization's symbol onto their bodies using venomous snake venom. The image of a writhing snake appears. Perhaps that's the organization's traditional symbol. Once this tattoo is carved, it cannot be removed. If that symbol were to be exposed publicly," he smiles, but his smile holds a hidden meaning. "It would be the perfect revenge." The owner's demeanor silences Lutz. After a moment of thought, he asks, "But that's just a rumor, right? What if we strip him down and find nothing there?" And yet, he remains blissfully ignorant. "I suppose it's a fitting punishment in its own way, to be stripped naked in front of everyone. How humiliating." Hearing this, he sighs and turns to leave, feeling powerless. "I won't do it." The man throws all dignity aside and clings to his leg. Only Odin's superstar can do it. Back in reality, he's been persuaded and now stands there, questioning his life choices. Zen sees the dark expression on his face and asks worriedly, "Are you going to be okay?" He can only reply, "I'll figure something out." Meanwhile, elsewhere, a boisterous laugh rings out. A girl, held up by the scruff of her neck, grins cheerfully. "This is fun. So much fun. So many people." The blue-haired young man seriously adjusted his clothes. "We're not here to fool around." The girl grimaced, clearly annoyed. Seeing this, the young man pushed up his glasses. "We're just here to observe." The girl immediately brightened up, gesturing excitedly as she spoke. "You got that right. I have a feeling something exciting is about to happen. I'm sure of." She turned around and called out to the woman leaning against the door, "Jiso." But the other girl didn't even bother to respond. Hesitantly, she called out again, "Jiso." The young man also called out, "Chai Young." Suddenly, the girl realized something, bursting into laughter. She fell asleep. Just then, a bell rang out in the square. A voice boomed, calling out the name of the handsome blonde-haired young man, Jae Yun, making him jump. He quickly responded, a bit flustered. "Yes, sir." The man beside him spoke up. "Stay calm and observe carefully," he instructed sternly. "With the large number of mages gathered here, this is going to be interesting." Hearing this, he clenched his fists, his face tense. Jae-min, with a strained expression, replied, "Yes, father." Meanwhile, in a place much quieter than the bustling scene outside, a few leaves silently fell to the ground. A beast-eared boy called out, "Look, Hyunji." He reminded him irritably, "Our mission today is to protect the magic stone. Remember? Let me repeat myself. The mission is to protect, not destroy. Are you even listening?" Hyunjin, the enigmatic red-haired boy, didn't react, only whispering repeatedly, "He's coming, he's coming." The beast-eared boy face-palmed in exasperation. He was so frustrated he was speechless. Then he yelled, "Hey Hyunjin," only to be interrupted by Hyunjin. "You're so old and talkative," infuriating him even more. "Who are you calling, old man? Tell me again, what was our mission? To preach to deaf ears?" Shiman continued plucking leaves, one by one, until the last one remained. He stared at it, lost in thought. Then, with a decisive flick, he threw the twig to the ground. He stomped on it with such force that sparks flew. A sinister smile crept across Shiman's lips. He walked away, his voice a low growl. "He will pay." The MC was eloquently describing the treasure. Furthermore, Lilia's exquisite necklace will belong to the beautiful lady over there. Congratulations. He then continued reverently. "And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the most important item of the day." Everyone hung on his every word. "I believe you all know what it is." Anticipation filled the air. A priceless treasure, collected with immense difficulty. Anticipation and anxiety filled the room. The highest grade magic stone, containing the power of the great magician Seano. He dramatically unveiled the item, shouting, "The heart of Seano." The sight before them left everyone speechless. Gasps and awes filled the air. Someone exclaimed, "Such brilliant light! I can feel its immense power just by looking at it." The MC seized the moment, amplifying the excitement. "This is your chance to own this incredible magic stone. Let the auction begin." Johan anxiously scanned the crowd below. "Grid, did you find a target?" He calmly replied, "Not yet. My view is blocked." Disappointed, she yelled, "Abort!" Exasperated, he said, "I'm serious." Everyone's energy is merging together. Could something have happened to him? Could that be why he isn't here? Zen retorted irritably, "No. Stop with the wishful thinking and face reality." To her surprise, he then said, "Well, we should get ready too." He calmly drew back the curtain, his face as cold as ice. A strange light enveloped him. His voice steady, he declared, "I am Boo." The mark on the back of his hand glowed as he commanded, "Awaken." Zen stood beside him, completely mesmerized. "It's truly amazing no matter how many times I see it. A sorcerer with your shape-shifting abilities is truly rare." She stared intently at the aura surrounding Ryu. "How can that kid look so incredibly handsome and fresh?" Zen couldn't help but praise him. "He's transformed into such a dashing young man." Hearing that, he got a little irritated. "Sorry for being a kid." She smiled apologetically. "Oh my, I was just kidding." Suddenly, Jinwoo remembered something and asked, "How's your mana?" He casually replied, "Enough." But more importantly, his voice turned serious. "They're coming." She barely managed to ask, "Who?" when suddenly, explosions roared. Bricks and debris flew everywhere. Jinwoo and Eugene stood above, silently watching the chaos unfold below. Soldiers charged from all directions, laughing maniacally and shouting. An intruder held a knife to the MC's throat and yelled, his laughter chilling, "Damn it, out of the way." He and his companions stood there and declared, "That magic stone is," he shamelessly announced, "ours." Zen asked nervously, "Who are they?" The soldiers continued their attempts to subdue the attackers. They repeatedly yelled, "Drop your weapons! Drop your weapons and step back." But the robber remained undeterred. His expression grew even more ferocious, radiating a murderous aura. "Anyone who doesn't back down." Then, without hesitation, he unleashed a powerful shockwave, accompanied by a furious roar. The soldiers were hit by the deafening sound, leaving them disoriented. Suddenly, they felt another attack, heading straight for them. The other robber had seized the opportunity while they were distracted to launch a vicious attack. No one could react in time. A single blow cleared the entire encirclement. His weapon then automatically returned to him. His expression remained cold and indifferent. He gripped his weapon tightly, spinning it like a boomerang. After taking down all the soldiers, the remaining man no longer bothered holding the MC hostage. He just kicked him away, cursing under his breath. He threatened the MC, "I'm bored. I can't wait any longer." With those words, he lunged towards the mana stone. He taunted, "Well, we'll be taking this mana stone now." But before his hand could touch it, it was stopped. He froze, completely bewildered. Snapping back to reality, his face paled. "What the? Who are you?" Without a chance to react or defend himself, his hand was crushed, a scream ripping from his throat. Collapsed on the ground, he stammered, My hand. Wait, Those gloves. You're a mage from the association. The onlookers erupted in a cacophony of whispers and murmurs. What guild? They gossiped amongst themselves. That beast-eared guy. There was a mage once, famous like that. I bet he belongs to a guild. I remember now. That's the beast-eared man from before. The Howler's Hound from Lando's. Hearing this, the man's lip twitched, repeating the word hound, in simmering rage. Ignoring the thieves, he spun around and roared, I'm not a dog. Who dares call me a hound? The ponytailed thief's face contorted in fury. His teeth gritted as he snarled. Damn you, guild scum. He lunged forward, striking the beast-eared man from behind. Die! His sickle-like weapon connected squarely with Haru's head. A thwack echoed, and he quickly retreated. The other two thieves paled at the sight. His weapon flew from his grasp, embedding itself deeply into a nearby pillar. Everyone watched in stunned silence. Hao's low voice cut through the air. I'm getting really angry. The man's pupils constricted at Hao's near growl. That hurt, you shameless thieves. One drop of my blood. He trembled, staring at Hao, too afraid to speak. Jenny observed from above, a look of amusement on her face. What the hell? I thought they were just weaklings, but they actually have a trump card. She continued her commentary, like a mage from the association. Unexpected. A voice suddenly interrupted her. VBTS, carefully shielding himself, spoke cautiously. Look closely. That's the mage who was with that guy the other day. She gasped slightly. What? So, in the stands, were those two thieves already taken care of? Jaiwan spoke up, trying to reassure everyone. All right. Haru declared in a booming voice. All mages present. Listen up. You're all clearly interested in this rare, high-grade magic stone. But any reckless actions will have dire consequences. His face was ice cold, his words a command. Wait patiently until the auction concludes. Understood? From this moment forward, anyone who touches the magic stone or displays suspicious intent will answer to me. Having delivered his warning, he turned back towards the magic stone. Now, I trust everyone understands? Before he could finish his sentence, he froze, speechless. He could only scream internally. The magic stone was gone. The MC spotted the thief. He pointed at Haru and yelled, Over there! Seeing the person, Haru was stunned, silently screaming. No way! The thief was none other than someone he knew. Sealin, what are you doing? Shiman, acting all mysterious, smirked and said, I can sense it. I can sense that he's definitely here. Huh? Why the shocked look? Standing atop the statue, Shiman bellowed, Hey Blackie, you're after this, aren't you? If you want it, come and fight for it. His eyes glowed with a deadly red light. If you don't show yourself, I'll take it all. The audience gasped in shock once again. Everyone whispered amongst themselves, Blackie, the Shiman Society, what's going on with the magic stone? Eugene nervously said to Eugene, who was currently in her adult form. Eugene, the Blackie he's talking about. She looked at him as he stared intently at Shiman and asked, You what? Even without an answer, she understood. She hesitated for a moment and said, this is more troublesome than we thought. Look at that expression. If we clash, it won't be easy. Wouldn't it be better to retreat now? He hesitated for a moment, then firmly said, No, we cannot abandon the mission just because of a mere speck of dust. She teased him, Gotcha, speck of dust? Slightly embarrassed, he corrected himself seriously, a grain of red sand. Zen could only helplessly indulge him. All right, we have to think of another way. There's no other choice. Among the crowd, a groan echoed. Oh man, I was hoping for a rare, high-grade magic stone like this, but that shine guy completely killed my motivation to compete. Another person replied, There are many mages here. If the two of us work together, it shouldn't be too difficult, but immediately received a retort. Don't be ridiculous. He's on a completely different level from us. That's Shine from the association, and started gossiping amongst themselves. Unless it was that dark mage he fought recently, the other person agreed. Who else could it be? Who would be crazy enough to confront Shurjima? As they spoke, a shadow crossed by. Their words trailed off as they noticed and broke out in a cold sweat. Shurjima stood there, holding the magic stone, silent. He simply waited. After a long moment without a response, he muttered to himself, I see. Shijima's gaze sharpened. He said, You got guts. Want to play hide and seek? Below, Hao was about to lose it because of Shijima's ridiculous game. He roared, End this insane charade and come down here. But Shurjima snapped back. Old man, get out of the way. You're blocking my view. Howl, enraged, yelled even louder. Do you want a taste of hell? Suddenly, a powerful force sliced through the air. Shiman and Howl were in the middle of a heated argument, but they both stopped abruptly, completely stunned. Crack! Crack! The sound of cracking stone echoed through the air. The angel statue that Shiman was standing on top of suddenly split in two, collapsing forward. Howl, caught in the crossfire, gaped as the entire statue plummeted towards him. What's happening? Then, a deafening boom resonated, followed by a thick cloud of dust. The colossal statue crashed to the ground, shattering into pieces. Within the dust cloud, the silhouette of a long-haired girl darted forward. It's not a ghost. It was Jisoo, heroically wielding her sword. After the attack, Howl, startled by her appearance, frantically demanded, "Hey, you did this, didn't you?" Her face remained impassive as she calmly replied, "I'm just here to participate in a fair auction." Then boastfully, "I even brought 1 billion silver." While House thought to herself, what can you even do with 1 billion silver? Her cold gaze swept across the room, but then landed on Cheyenne as he approached. "You interfered with my business first," she stated. Cheyenne, looking down from his elevated position, retorted, "No, you're the one who interfered." They locked eyes, a murderous intent filling the air. "You crazy bitch," he spat. Zen, watching the scene unfold, was speechless. Who the hell is this blue-haired guy? Below, chants of fight erupted. She spoke again. "I don't know how long that guy can stall for time, but this is our chance." Turning to Lao, she said, "Right?" He was already perched on the railing, ready to move. At her call, Blue said coldly, "Of course." Within his sharp gaze, the man he was searching for appeared. "I've found him." The man with the lip piercing was his target. He frowned slightly, looking at the man before stating, "Target confirmed." A hazy space materialized before his eyes. A desolate landscape unfolded, shrouded in thick smoke and dust. Debris scattering from the sheer force of inertia, as if a massive explosion had just occurred. Amidst the hazy smoke, countless flashes of light flickered. Tesla shot forward like a bullet, charging towards Seongjin with a sword slash that ripped through the air, forcing him to retreat. Tesla's face remained impassive, devoid of emotion. She shot Shiryun a sharp glance. Shiryun landed on the ground, while Tesla remained hovering in the air, poised for her next attack. A flash of light sparked right in front of them. It seemed like it would cleave his head clean off. But no. Shimon's hand gripped Tesla's blade tightly, effortlessly, as if holding a child's toy sword. Tesla's eyes widened in shock. She couldn't believe that the person before her could so easily neutralize her attack. A questioning voice echoed, "Why is Shimun so calm?" A dangerous glint shone in his eyes. Words of contempt dripped from his lips. Fools who overestimate themselves. Amidst the chaotic scene, one of Shimun's hands still held Tesla's sword, while the other silently prepared a counterattack, glowing with a crimson light. His voice dropped, more menacing than ever. "You dare disturb me?" As expected, Tesla was sent flying by Sismian. The immense force from his hand completely upended everything around them. A thick cloud of dust and smoke billowed up. Hundreds of rays of light shot up, accompanied by flying debris, creating a terrifying explosion. Those watching from afar were also affected by the tremendous power. The entire space was engulfed in a dense cloud of dust and smoke. Only Sismium remained calmly standing in place. From within the ruins, a faint figure gradually emerged. It was Tesla, on her knees. Her sword plunged into the ground. Her voice echoed, "Your name is Tesla." Standing before her was Seon, cold and composed. Suddenly, Tesla's eyes widened. Her pupils dilated noticeably. Soon, her entire body emanated an ethereal blue light. A wind picked up, causing her hair to flutter. Blue rays of light enveloped her. Tesla declared, "Awakening." Cheyenne remained motionless, observing her. He slowly spoke. "Do you think awakening will change anything?" Tesla softly uttered, "You." In a flash, she lunged toward Cheyenne, like a blue lightning bolt, sword in hand, ready to strike at any moment. A voice boomed, "Get ready." Then another voice chimed in, Look. It was the princess and her attendant. She was watching the fight, happily waving her hands and exclaiming, "Look, Jisoo has awakened. So cool. Really cool." The attendant beside her remained stoic, softly calling out, "Your Highness." He turned to her, his expression serious. "It's best we return now." The princess's whiny voice piped up, "But I don't want to." Her attendant patiently continued. We have no choice. Guard Tesla, the one who should be protecting you, is in that condition. He placed his hands on her shoulders, trying to persuade her to go back. Although she still wanted to stay, we even snuck out here. If something were to happen to your highness, my head would roll. Finally, he said sternly, so, let's return. As the fight raged on, and smoke and dust filled the air, his words lingered. Before anything happens, suddenly, an announcement blared through the speakers, leaving everyone present completely stunned and bewildered. No one understood what was happening. A sense of anxiety filled the air. Everyone, please evacuate this area immediately. Questions and doubts echoed through the crowd. What's going on? What about the magic stone? Where is it? Amidst the chaotic scene, suspicious voices continued to rise. I'm sure I saw it fall around here, Ramanujan exclaimed. An S-rank hunter was hidden amongst the crowd. Beside him stood a young woman, her face etched with a hint of panic. She whispered, Kai, what's happening? Suddenly, a man shoved his way through the crowd, bellowing angrily. Startled, those around him recoiled. It was the association's hound. He had regained his composure and was deep in thought. Damn it, that bastard Sook. If he was going to pick a fight, he should have given me the magic stone first. Where the hell did it fall? In the distance, a mysterious figure in a white cloak appears. They're silently observing. Ran, Maximus, and the girl beside them. It turns out to be Blue, the dark magician of option. He nervously grips his cloak, a worried expression on his face. He thinks too many people. Everyone's after the magic stone. In this chaos lies the perfect opportunity. He glances at the two people ahead, wondering, how can I expose the symbol on his leg without raising suspicion? Blue closes his eyes, lost in his own thoughts. Could it be that He doesn't think so. There has to be another way. Suddenly, a loud voice boomed, catching Blue's attention. He glanced over. Where's the magic stone? Who took it? As if answering the question, he muttered, excuse me. Hearing his voice, the other man turned around. Huh? Blue walked over to him, leaning in to whisper. While glancing at Ramasadom, I saw it clearly. That guy in the purple shirt is hiding. His attention immediately shifted to Ramasadom, who was laughing and talking with the girl beside him. He asked, what? The guy laughing over there? Blue replied, yes. I'm sure I saw him hide it in his pants. Actually, Blue was making it all up, so basically anything goes. Unexpectedly, the other guy actually believed Blue, charging forward aggressively and grabbing Ramarishinji by the throat. He fiercely interrogated him. Hey, did you take the magic stone? He was momentarily clueless about what was happening, so he could only stammer. Seeing this, the girl bluntly said. The surrounding people, witnessing this scene, heard someone speak up. The magic stone? Whispers and murmurs filled the air. Did that guy steal the magic stone? Get him. Blue, the one who instigated everything, was surprised as he watched the events unfold. He thought to himself, huh? Did that actually work? Did that actually work? Suddenly, the other guy was shoved back. A bleeding wound appeared on his body. A groan escaped his lips. Ramarishinji said in a sinister voice. It turned out he had pulled out a knife and stabbed the other man. The girl standing behind him was horrified. Ramarishinji asked, how did you know? Blue was stunned. What? He thought to himself. Ramarishinji cursed under his breath. Damn, almost got away with it. Hearing his confession, the surrounding people erupted in chatter. He really is the culprit. Blue, who was watching the scene unfold, was completely dumbfounded. He never expected that his random accusation would turn out to be true. Did he really take the magic stone? He wondered. In the next moment, Ramarishinji's body emitted a strange purple glow. He said, it's mine now. There's no way I'm giving it up. My name is Blake. Purple streaks of light enveloped him. The power stunned everyone into awed silence. Crush spoke up, snapping everyone back to reality. His voice turned savage. Listen up. Crush looked completely different than before. Bathed in purple light, his eyes held a dangerous glint. A sinister smile spread across his face. The magic stone floated in his palm. He spoke arrogantly. You pathetic fools. The magic stone is mine. So, anyone who dares to try and take it. 3 stones radiated purple light from his hand. Klaus lunged towards the others, sending them into a frenzy of fear. Klaus's terrifying voice boomed. Will die a horrible death. Just you. From the crowd, someone ripped off their cloak and jumped out. He swatted away the 3 stones, leaving class and the others completely stunned. Blow's calm voice rang out, as if responding to class's words. Not necessarily. Seeing the figure before him, dressed entirely in black, wielding a sharp spear, and emanating a dark aura, class felt a surge of doubt. His vision obscured by the dark aura, he gasped softly. Class's knife, unnoticed until now, was plunged deep into the ground. Blow pointed his spear directly at Class, who was shielding his face with his hand, and slowly spoke. I don't think. His handsome face became clearly visible, with sharp eyes and a knowing smirk. His voice continued. You can stand against me. Shimon, sensing something, was startled, his eyes wide. He no longer paid attention to Tesla standing opposite him, but turned sharply towards Blow. Seonjin's entire body. At this moment, Tesla was still emanating a terrifying blue aura. Seeing Seonjin's distraction, she realized this was the perfect opportunity to take him down. So, while Seonjin was still distracted, Tesla dashed towards him with lightning speed. By now, Crush had collapsed to the ground. Just like that, he was lying sprawled at Blow's feet, while he still stood there calmly, surrounded by a black aura. The others who witnessed this scene were utterly shocked. They cried out in alarm. What? That black magic. Could it be the association's hounds are just like everyone else? Having just witnessed everything, he wondered in astonishment. Hyuk saw Rowoon standing there imposingly, his face expressionless, his eyes sharp as knives. He had a hunch about who the dark mage was. Club suddenly jumped up and shouted at Rowoon, I'll never hand over the magic stone. It's mine. Rowoon calmly replied. Yours? You just stole it, didn't you? His expression remained unchanged as he continued. Besides, I'm not after the magic stone. I'm after. Suddenly, Klaus's face paled. A crimson light blazed from behind Rowoon. He sensed it immediately and turned around. A brilliant red vortex, pulsating with terrifying power, was right in front of him. Everyone around them was terrified. Rowoon leaped into the air, dodging the incoming attack. A sword materialized out of thin air. He thought, a sword? Rowoon looked up at him, evading the blow. A sudden spark ignited in his eyes, his pupils dilated. A hand clutched tightly at his shirt. It was Xiaomin, he muttered under his breath. Xiaomin and Law stood face to face. Xiaomin's gaze was as chilling as ever. Law, though slightly surprised, remained calm. Xiaomin's ghostly voice continued, Ricky. Law's eyes narrowed, a look of caution washing over him. As he realized who stood before him, an AI, he thought, Xiaomin. The two faced off, unleashing a terrifying power. Countless streaks of red light intertwined. Debris flew everywhere. Witnessing such immense power, the people below were terrified and fled screaming. Tan! Another shadowy figure materialized amidst the chaos. The others, upon seeing her, were shocked and fearful. It was Tesla. She hung her head low, her voice a pained whisper. Then, her hand clenched into a fist and slammed into the ground. The earth cracked and crumbled as her furious voice continued. I was even stripped of my sword. Tesla looked up, her eyes sharp and piercing. With unwavering determination, she declared, next time, sitting amidst the devastation, Tesla's voice echoed, I will not lose. Black struggled to his feet. Without hesitation, he sprinted forward, seemingly with no regard for his own life. Does Club think the magic stone belongs to him? Seeing Club trying to escape, the others immediately gave chase. They shouted, stop! He's running away with the magic stone. But these guys were no match for Class. He effortlessly shook them off with a wave of his hand, and scoffed, small fry. A streak of purple light flashed from Class's hand. With a single effortless attack, he easily took down the group. Before the purple smoke could clear, groans of pain echoed through the air. Klaka smirked, a triumphant glint in his eyes. He believed the weak should know their place. Lost in his arrogance, a voice suddenly called out, Mage. A woman stood directly behind him, winding up for a devastating punch that sent Klaka reeling. She spoke, her voice sharp. Did you really think that every mage here was weaker than you? Though Klaka managed to turn and brace himself, the force of her blow was immense, forcing a grimace onto his face. A squad of mages appeared. In a blink of an eye, he was surrounded. He was already struggling to defend himself. Cornered once again, his face was a mask of frustration. The voices of the surrounding crowd were growing louder and more chaotic. The Black Mage and Shisumu are facing off. Laville's eyes widened in surprise. The Black Mage and Shisumu of Sao. He strained to see through the thick dust and debris. For a moment, blinded by the chaos, a thought flashed through his mind. This entire building is about to collapse. He turned and called out, "Vu." As the words left his mouth, he froze, staring at the empty chair beside him. He addressed the maid standing behind him. "Where is my father?" She calmly replied, "His Majesty has already left." He thought to himself, "I should also." His expression hardened as the thought solidified. "I should too. It's best to leave here immediately." But the sheer destruction before him filled him with a sense of awe. A battle between powerful mages. I want to see it. Jin was in a complete panic. She screamed internally, "Ah, how did things turn out like this?" Biting her nails, she thought, "It really is Shiman." No! His appearance was unexpected. Not to mention, this was supposed to be a low-risk mission. So, I didn't even bring any mana stones to replenish my mana. The longer this drags on, the worse it is for Blow. Anxiety gnawed at her. "What are you going to do?" She silently called out his name over and over. "Blow!" Meanwhile, both Shiman and Blow were still fired up. Blow spoke. "Let me make this clear. I have no intention of fighting you." Unfazed, Shiman chuckled. "Really?" Blow casually replied. "That's right. I wasn't after the mana stone from the beginning. Isn't your mission to protect the mana stone until the auction ends?" Based on what your teammates said earlier. Hyjin stood there, completely lost about what was going on. Because Lao keeps repeating the same mistakes. "Let's pretend we never met." That thing above his head, he said, subtly pointing at it. "A massive amount of energy is converging. Up there." System, erase that ridiculous magic circle. But Simon simply replied, "No." Lao was left speechless. Then he continued, "Whether your goal is the magic stone or not, it doesn't matter to me," he said, releasing his energy. "I've been searching for you since that day. You hid in Obian as if you were some kind of treasure. So I investigated every incident related to you, every mission you could possibly accept." Lao listened to his words with a helpless expression. "But you were nowhere to be found. I can explain, but I can only keep it to myself, because I'm too busy signing autographs and stripping people naked." Suddenly, Shiman stomps the ground, launching himself forward. "And now, you're going down." He unleashes a blow towards L'Oreal, his voice unwavering. "You stand before me." L'Oreal instantly raises her staff to block, creating a deafening clash. The immense power from both of them makes his eyes blaze as he stares at her. So, L'Oreal's expression remains unchanged. As he continues, "Look back and the memories will flood in." Shiman recounts, his voice growing dark. "That day, the sight gave me goosebumps. The surrounding area is practically demolished by his power, the sheer force he unleashed." L'Oreal feels a pang of awkwardness at the chaotic scene. Shiman continues his story, building up to a final full-powered attack. "Rat, I will kill you." The entire building shook even more violently. Rocks fell like rain, and screams echoed everywhere. "Damn it, it's about to collapse." Rocks fell directly onto the people below, making them scream in terror. Suddenly, a powerful punch, like a beacon of light in the chaos, appeared. It was none other than Howl. He was risking his life to break the deadly falling rocks, desperately trying to save people. He cursed Zeke in his mind. Does he want to destroy everything? What was the point of all that talk? He's gone too far. He was disgusted by this senseless brawl. The auction had descended into utter chaos. "Once I retrieve the Moss Stone, I'll have a justifiable reason." On Zeke's side, suddenly, a pillar collapsed right where he was standing. He let out a surprised, "Ah." He spun around angrily, shouting, "What the hell is going on? What are you doing?" "You," a dark mage roared. "Give us back the magic stone." Panicked, he stammered, "Wait, what's happening?" But another one interrogated him. "Where are you hiding the magic stone?" He was swarmed and beaten, unable to speak. "You bastards." "Seriously." Suddenly, from below, someone yelled, "Pants!" Then he pointed upwards and screamed, "His pants! The magic stone is in his pants." Club was utterly bewildered. What nonsense are you talking about?" The group could no longer hear anything else. Their eyes fixated on his pants. He was completely shocked, stammering, No, that's not it. You damn bastards, stay away from me." Meanwhile, after an earth-shattering battle, only one figure remained standing. In their hand, they held a tattered piece of cloth. It's Zich, and he's speechless. All he managed to grab from Blow was a tattered piece of his cloak. Amidst the swirling smoke, another figure sits perched on a railing, observing the scene. From afar, a few noble women recognize Blow. Completely taken aback, they cover their mouths to stifle any gasps. He gently warns them, "Get out of here quickly. It's dangerous." He lets the two girls escape, their hushed whispers filled with admiration for his striking good looks. Watching everything unfold, he thinks to himself, exasperated, "Who's killing who? This is ridiculous. Why am I wasting mana on such a pointless fight?" His thoughts continue to wander. Come to think of it, ever since that day, I've been assigned nothing but bizarre missions. Could it be because of this guy? After observing everything, he says to himself, people are starting to leave. This mission is a failure. But then, leaving Seongjin standing there dumbfounded, he vanished with a thought. I need to at least confirm whether he has that symbol or not. After a long moment of silence, Seongjin spoke in a low voice. If you don't want to fight then, I'll just have to make you fight. He looked around and said, come to think of it, there are too many distractions here. His attention shifted to the others. If I clear out some of this trash, maybe you'll change your mind? No sooner said than done. The sounds of tearing space echoed once more, shocking countless innocent bystanders. Everyone looked up at the sky, wondering, what the hell is that? Above everyone's heads was a magic circle created by Seongjin himself. What is that? One of the club members, also among those about to be attacked, gaped and cried out, what now? With a mob still hot on his heels. Hold it right there. He ran, practically pantsless, cursing those lunatics. Look up. His words fell on deaf ears. He thought, frustrated, they wouldn't even care. What if I just keep running? Before he could finish the thought, a kick from the heavens sent him flying backwards. Remove this line, it's undefined. He only managed to yell, ah. Blue commanded coldly, get out of here now. The others exclaimed in shock. A black magician? While everyone was still stunned, he calmly said, if your lives are more precious to you than that magic stone, then get out of here. Then, striking a handsome pose, he explained, because this place, a magic circle of immense power is flickering. He concluded sharply, it's about to collapse. Under the mystical glow of the magic circle, Howl's voice boomed, it's going to collapse. Harry anxiously watched Shimeon's haggard appearance. He ran over and grabbed Shimeon's shoulder. What are you doing? Stop this instant. Can't you see there are still people here? Are you trying to kill everyone? Shimeon fell silent at Harry's words. Zen looked down at the scene and sighed. This is chaos. She quickly turned around. Blow! Where's Blow? We need to find him and get out of here with the scroll. Suddenly, Zen froze. Something felt wrong. Shimeon's eyes were terrifying, radiating a murderous aura. Playing with me? Blow is no pushover. As he spoke, Blow jumped in front of Shimeon's crimson aura, replacing it with his own jet black one. Nearby rocks crumbled and collapsed. Blow, now airborne, thought, that guy, is he serious? Blurry images flashed through his mind. Black and white clashed, as Blue and System's eyes met unexpectedly. Surprise filled both their gazes. Then, they lunged at each other, a whirlwind of combat. Moments later, both crashed to the ground. Blue looked up, hand raised in astonishment. Confusion etched on his face. Just now, the magic power I fused disappeared. Teo arrived at System's side. System roared in fury. Damn it, you! His words cut short. Teo's eyes widened in shock. Suddenly he gasped. Before everyone's eyes, out of nowhere, a massive magic circle materialized. From the surface of the magic circle, cracks began to spiderweb outwards. Seconds later, across the ruined stage, around the statue, countless magic circles appeared. A strange voice echoed, a summoning magic circle. Why? Confusion swept over everyone. From the circles on the ground, small stone mounds began to rise. A monster with glowing eyes emerged from the magic circle and let out terrifying screeches. After it fully emerged from the magic circle, its menacing appearance sent everyone running in terror. June, standing behind Levi, screamed in fear. Young master, Levi, filled with fear and surprise, stared at the monster with wide, panicked eyes. Where did that thing come from? June replied, from the magic circle on the floor. I knew it. On the other side, two people were about to be attacked by the monster. Help us. Levi paused for a moment, then made up his mind. Blue, give me my sword, she asked worriedly. Are you going to fight? I won't stop you. But Levy nodded. Yes, I might not be strong enough, but Levy's pupils constricted sharply. Tension was evident in his eyes. Levy gripped his sword tightly, a fierce look in his eyes, ready to charge. Standing idly by was no different than waiting to die. In an instant, he shielded the two, who were cowering on the ground. Don't worry, Al. Before he could finish, Levy was struck by a critical blow from the colossal monster and sent flying into the air. His eyes rolled back in his head. He never expected this. But fortunately, Juin swiftly flew up and caught him. She gently landed and looked up. It was a hideous jellyfish, or so Juin thought as she tried to get a better look. Or was it a gigantic octopus? Juin began to focus her energy. That thing, summon Luna's bow, she thought to herself. In the next instant, a gleaming golden bow and arrow materialized in her hands. What should we call this? A streak of purple ink shot out into the air. Just then Yuta, having landed, wondered aloud, what the heck is that? He stared at the monster, completely dumbfounded. No way. Is that a summoning magic circle? Jaiwu, standing beside him, was equally bewildered. A summoning magic circle? Yuta then realized that someone had been standing next to him this whole time. Huh. Mage Taeyong chimed in. Whoa. It seems like it is. Jaiwu asked. Is there any mage capable of summoning demons? No. Yuta thought for a moment. Well, at least I've never heard of one. But after hearing your analysis, Blow silently pondered the perplexing situation. Why was this happening? Why summon so many monsters right here, in the middle of this place? Lost in these mysteries, he heard Jane's voice. Blow! He turned around in surprise. Jane! He was shocked to see her running towards him. Hadn't she escaped? Jane snapped at him, clearly irritated. What are you talking about? I can't just run away by myself like a coward. The monster, seeing Jane, seemed stunned. Is she with him? She doesn't look like a mage at all. Simon. How noticed the gigantic monster before them? Look, Simon, raising his hand, summoning energy. The chain monster threw a magic stone at his head and cried out in pain. Where's your magic stone? He looked down, his voice low. It's gone. How furiously demanded. What? Where did you throw it? I swear you were just holding it. Shiman silently stared at his blood-stained hand. He remained silent for a long moment, as if afraid of something. It's gone. Ro reached out and Zen held up a small piece of paper. We'll use the scroll of teleportation. Let's get out of this crazy place. Ro stepped in front of her. Fine, but you're just going to leave? Suddenly, a terrifyingly dark aura emanated from Zich. Blow charged forward. In a flash, Blow and Shiman were locked in a tense standoff. Zich was struggling to contain the terrifying power emanating from the nail in Blow's hand. Who said that? Ren, witnessing the scene, felt utterly helpless. What? What are you doing? Don't you see what kind of situation we're in? She hissed, whispering in the beastkin's ear to stop her comrade. You're going again. The nail in Blue's hand started to waver. The magic power isn't disappearing. He tried to suppress his confusing thoughts. Could it just be a temporary phenomenon? Blue said to Sherwoon in a serious tone. You felt it too, didn't you? Just now. Sherwoon asked, tightening his grip on the nail in his hand. You mean the magic power disappearing? Blue nodded. Yes. I don't think it's because of you and those monsters. There's something strange going on. Close, realizing something stopped. Then this isn't the time for us to be fighting. Sherwoon paid no attention to his words. Strange or not, I don't care. With that said, Sherwoon continued to press his attack on Blue. A massive explosion erupted right in front of Jane, forcing her to shield her face with her hand in discomfort. Fear flashed across Jane's eyes. Blue, standing behind them, and even the usually composed Taeja House couldn't maintain their composure. After blocking Jik's attack with his hand, Howl gravely demanded, Stop it, Jik. He was clearly furious with Jik's actions. Annoyed, he scoffed. There's nothing appealing about a stubborn fool. Jane froze, thinking, what is he talking about? Han continued trying to persuade Jik to stop. Besides, with all this commotion, the tower's mages will be here any minute. You know better than anyone, even Edo, that confronting them won't end well. Right? Lu remained silent, wondering to himself, did he just take that blow head on? What? Meanwhile, Harry continued speaking. So, we should force the Red House to relocate. His eyes gleamed, and he declared resolutely, I won't tolerate anyone who stands in my way, not even that old man. The dark mage was stunned by his words. He thought to himself, is he insane? Suddenly, someone called out, "Blue!" It was Jane. She urgently warned, "He's right. If the mages from the tower come, things will get messy. We need to." She didn't notice the demonic tentacles slithering up behind her. Fortunately, Blue spotted it and yelled, "Jane, behind you!" Jane's jaw dropped, completely bewildered. Even more surprising, a young man wielding a sword suddenly appeared, startling Jane. The young man's sword plunged, landing a direct hit on the demon, sending blood spraying everywhere. The blow caused the demon to roar in pain, all four of its eyes wide with agony. It opened its massive maw and let out a deafening shriek. That guy is Raviel. His face was a mixture of 7 parts terror and 3 parts shock. Despite his fear, he asked with concern, "Ran, are you all right?" She looked back at the scene, but things didn't look good. The enraged monster lashed out with a tentacle, wrapping it tightly around Raviel, making him scream in terror. Rand broke out in a cold sweat, thinking to herself, "I should be the one asking if he's okay." Raviel's bodyguard, her face impassive and cold, said, "Young master, should I intervene?" Raviel yelled in exasperation, "Is that even a question?" Suddenly, a streak of white light, tinged with black magic, sliced the demon in half. The demon was destroyed, which meant Laville falls from the sky. The sudden drop makes him cry out in surprise. After slaying the demon with a single blow to the head, L'Oreal turns to Xenial with concern. "Xenial, are you all right?" Xenial is taken aback by her actions and simply replies, L'Oreal ponders to herself. A monster with no core and no intelligence. What could it possibly be? Illumia's guardian kneels and offers a hand, asking, "Young master, are you okay?" But he still seems stunned by what he just witnessed. He glances over at Xenial and L'Oreal talking, and recognizes the dark enchantress. He then looks towards Hate, realizing he's trying to restrain Zil, preventing him from acting rashly, and that it's Superman. Admiration is clearly written all over Laville's face. Just one word: strong. The mage, Loch, then looked towards class. "Your objective for coming here today?" He lay unconscious amidst the rubble. He thought with a hint of regret, "I still can't confirm at this moment." An irritated voice caught his attention. Jen made a frustrated demand. "Come on, forget that damn mission. I woke up with a bad feeling this morning." She happily held up the scroll in her hand. "Good thing I brought this with me." Blow, uninterested, shattered her brief moment of joy. "As I predicted, Run, you should leave first." This surprised her, causing her to cry out. "What? You're really going to strip him in this situation?" Lapis. He and his bodyguard were stunned by what they heard. "Strip what?" "Pants." Blue quickly explained, "No, it's not like that. There are still monsters around, and so many people are watching." Zen, sensing his doubt, reassured him, "Don't worry, the tower will take care of it. That's kind of their specialty, after all. Let's forget about that." Zen looked towards Laville and called out, "You," suddenly called out. Laville was startled and instinctively replied, "Huh?" She held L'Oreal with one hand and a scroll in the other, then said to Laville, "It might sound a bit dramatic, but this is to repay you for helping me earlier. But would you like to come with us to escape this place? This scroll can teleport up to 4 people." Laville felt a surge of excitement at Zen's offer. His hands clenched. She added, "Of course, unless you don't want to impose on these 2, and they're too shy to say they don't want to come along." Hearing her words, he quickly replied, "No, we would be grateful if you would take us with you." Contrary to that thought, the guard standing next to her thought differently. "We also have a scroll of teleportation." While they were talking, trembling on the other side, Hats was suffering, trying to hold back Jinho. "Ugh, my head!" he groaned internally. Just the thought of the report he'd have to write after this was already giving him a headache. Unable to keep it in any longer, Hats burst out at Jinho, "Hey Jinho, because of you." Before he could finish his sentence, his chin was met with a sudden headbutt. Meanwhile, Hyun was concentrating on visualizing the destination. Contact confirmed. The teleportation scroll levitated and was enveloped in streaks of white light. Hyun turned and instructed Levi to hold hands. He replied with a surprised, "Oh, okay." But suddenly, Shik's voice boomed. "How troublesome." Levi looked a bit worried. He was furious. A red aura, matching his eyes, enveloped him. Shik growled, "Why are you running away? Where's that insolent brat from before?" Shik's words made Levi's hair stand on end. He turned and whispered to Blow, "Mr. Black Wizard. That wizard over there looks like he's glaring at us. He's scary." Blow responded to Levi's worry in a casual tone. "Don't mind him, he's just thinking about something." Finishing his sentence, Blow turned and whispered to Zen, Please hurry up. Zen was exasperated. She demanded, don't bother me. I need to concentrate. Chick was still fuming. You think I'll let you escape? His words startled Hyawan, making her feel disrespected. He grew angrier. You annoying Bucky. His face darkened, but it couldn't hide his ruby-red eyes. He activated his formation, bathing the entire stadium in a crimson light. The demons were drawn to it. Hyawan gasped in astonishment at the sight. Oh my god, not again! Ibis was also surprised by the scene before her, murmuring to herself, this is blow. Tense could only urge Jian to hurry. Jian was deeply focused, pouring all her energy into activating the teleportation scroll. Suddenly, she shouted, what I want to teleport, just as they vanished. Just then, Zich's formation activated completely. It caused a massive explosion, engulfing the building in flames. Not far away, a man stood watching. He seemed to be performing some kind of tracking ritual. His hand, channeling magical energy, suddenly clenched into a fist. Witnessing the spectacle, he couldn't help but exclaim, fascinating. Perched on his shoulder was a miniature version of the demon. Seen at the auction, he glanced towards a nearby branch. There, a woman sat perched. In her hands, she held an object that emitted a brilliant golden light. He seemed to recognize it, a magic stone. It was in the hands of the person he called Lady Robin Monterey. She was sitting intently studying the magic stone. The young lady echoed his words in a mocking tone. How ridiculous! She twirled the stone in her hand, making such a fuss over something so trivial. Suddenly, she crushed it into pieces. The fragments fell to the ground. With a haughty and contemptuous expression, she deemed humanity pathetic. On a beautiful day, warm sunlight filtered through the trees, leaves casting dappled shadows into the room through the window. In that room, a man sat with his chin resting on his hand. The man picked up a document in front of him and spoke. Buildings destroyed, magic stones gone missing, and a mysterious monster suddenly appeared. That man is Blow's owner. The events unfolding at the auction made him exclaim, things are getting lively. But then, the room fell silent. His smile froze as he met Gun's intense gaze. Gun was clearly irritated by his owner's words. You think this is funny? The owner averted his gaze, struggling to find a response. No, I mean, Gun continued. You told us to just strip him, and we ended up in that whole mess. It's kind of funny looking back, though. The owner quickly tried to change the subject. Well, the important thing is you both came back safe. Gun replied, his face and tone dripping with sarcasm. Yeah, the owner shifted uncomfortably. I didn't foresee this happening. He rubbed his forehead in frustration. If I had known Siwoon would be there, I wouldn't have sent you all. Jen asked, puzzled. Why is that guy so obsessed with Blow? It's more than just wanting to fight. He was at a loss for words, unable to answer Jen. He could only offer a vague explanation. Both father and son are a bit crazy. He truly didn't understand what they were thinking. Jen was even more confused after hearing that. But suddenly he declared, he'll lose interest eventually. So for now, just avoid any trouble. No matter how unfair it seems, just let it go. Rin suddenly understood. That's why. You've been giving Blow all those strange missions lately? He didn't deny it, nodding. Well, partly it's to give him a break. He became serious, pondering the situation. But setting that aside, something still feels off. He said, rereading the report, I was suspicious the moment I heard. A high-grade magic stone appeared at a public auction, but he recalled the demon and the scene that day. An unknown monster was summoned en masse. Then the magic power suddenly vanished. This can't be ignored. Jinwoo propped his chin on his hand, speculated. It seems both the association and the magic tower will be busy. He agreed, probably. He suddenly remembered something he wanted to ask Jinwoo. But where did Eugene disappear to, after throwing this rough report at me? Meanwhile, elsewhere, Eugene was searching for information about his own questions. He was lost in thought, his chin resting on his hand, seemingly unsurprised by what he found. Just as he suspected, the files contained no information about monster summoning. Rude concluded, it's definitely not something you'd find in ordinary documents. Lost in his reading, a cute boy brought him a drink. Here's your drink, sir. The boy placed a tray on the table and politely bowed. Long time no see, Rude. Rude recognized the boy as Hyun. The boy asked with concern, have you been burying yourself in your studies lately? Why so many books? Rude replied cheerfully, I'm looking into something. The boy peeked at the page Rude was reading, and his eyes widened in surprise. Wow, that's complicated. How can you even read this stuff? I never knew you were so smart. Vu smiled and patted his head, just realizing that now. The boy relayed his sister's words. My sister always said that one should be humble. Vu awkwardly changed the subject. Wow, it's busy today. You must be really busy. The boy cheerfully replied. Not really, most people are just chatting. The boy innocently asked, you heard about it too, right? About the Black Magician's performance? The boy's question caught him off guard. Kyo froze for 5 seconds. Performance? Ben recounted the incident to him. There was a super expensive magic stone that appeared in Navy, but some bad mages tried to steal it. But Tada, the Black Magician, suddenly appeared, chased away all the bad guys and saved everyone. Listening to the boy's story, he wondered to himself, did I do that? I thought everything was destroyed by the explosion. The boy couldn't help but exclaim, that's so cool. Ben smiled happily and said, I hope that my sister can also become a powerful mage, like the Black Mage. Ruth asked, you have a sister? The boy cheerfully replied, yeah. Ben proudly boasted to Ruth, my sister just got accepted in a Chongunion. He asked back, Chongunion? You mean that Chongunion? With the same proud expression. Ben said admiringly, it's not just any school. His imagination taking flight. Chongunion is a special place, only for extraordinary people. Although happy for his sister, he confessed, but I'm also sad that I'll be far away from her. But there's no other way. When I miss her, I can just write her a letter. Ben remembered his mother's reminder. Mom told me not to send too many letters, so I don't distract her from her studies. It might distract her from her studies, but I've already written 10 letters. As he was telling Rosalind, his next-door neighbor, his story was suddenly interrupted by someone calling his name. Ben. Hearing his name, the boy quickly said goodbye to Rudd. I have to go now. Study hard. Good, I will. After Ben left, silence fell around Rudd once more. The surrounding chatter continued unabated. Rudd's face was lost in thought. He closed his eyes slightly. The world around him seemed to darken. He could clearly hear snippets of conversations. Someone said, I heard Grid 1. Another person denied it. No, the Black Magician was the one who saved them. Someone else added regretfully. I heard that the explosion was actually orchestrated by the secret tower, and the magic stone was taken by someone named Kraugle. At another table, someone said, hey, did you hear? I heard the Black Magician is actually a woman. The gossip made his hair stand on end. He thought, these rumors are so ridiculous. In the end, only one person takes the fall, although he deserves it. Wu Jin was quite surprised, but strangely, there wasn't a single mention of the monsters. It seems like the tower is involved in this too. Wu Jin pondered. Regardless, a monster appearing in the city, a place protected by the tower's barrier. The more he thought about it, the more unsettling it became. If it wasn't a system error, then something must have happened to the tower's barrier. Wu Jin reconsidered. No, wait. If that were the case, it wouldn't be this quiet. Looking at the simulated image of the magic circle, at least I recorded the magic circle I saw. But will that even work? Stop. Don't think about it. I should go see Master first. Scene change. Another beautiful sunny day. A silver-haired man in a hat gazes into the distance. He's startled when someone calls out, Lipton. He reports to his master. Something seems to be happening up ahead. But it's nothing we need to concern ourselves with. His master replies, I understand. Lipton turns towards the carriage and asks Lady Jean, will you really be all right? Lady Jean coldly says, I told you, I'm fine. How many times are you going to ask? Lipton starts to speak, but she cuts him off. Don't worry about such trivial matters. Lady Jean firmly states, listen carefully. If I can help that child, even a little, I will do everything in my power. Meanwhile, Grid strolls down the road. He stared intently at the paper in front of him, a puzzled look on his face. He kept staring, but the answers wouldn't come. Whatever he thought, forget it. Suddenly, a gust of wind snatched the paper from his hand. He froze, too late to realize the paper had fallen to the ground. As he reached down to pick it up, another gust swept it away. The paper soared high, sending a wave of panic through him. His eyes followed the paper, a question in his gaze. Where could it be going now? Not far from there, a man yelled out in fear, give it back. He was confronted by a group of 4 bullies. One of them was holding what belonged to him. The leader sneered. What if I don't want to? I just picked up a discarded bag. The man frantically explained. I've told you so many times. I just put it down for a second. I don't want any trouble. Please, just give it back. Suddenly, the bully lunged forward, grabbing the man by the collar, making him cry out in fear. He threatened angrily. Look here. If you had begged for mercy, I might have reconsidered, but you dared to yell at me? Look closely. As he spoke, Eugen's matrix map flew into his face. Will the guards arrive first, or will you die first? He angrily shouted. What the hell is this? He seemed to ignore the paper, excitedly saying, anyway, this bag is mine now. So, before he could finish, a voice interrupted. It's dirty now? They turned towards the voice and saw Eugen holding the paper and the bag. He angrily asked his underling, who the hell is that brat? Underling. He then realized the bag was no longer in his hand. Eugen stood up, returning the bag to the man. Here you go. The man took it. Thanks. The underling was surprised. Huh? When did he snatch the bag back? The underling demanded its immediate return. He calmly and coldly replied, I just found. The underling was taken aback. What? Hey, stop. Their leader intervened. Let him go. His gaze sharpened. Wisps of purple smoke emanated from him. He said furiously, that brat dared to interfere with my business. I'll teach him a lesson first, he threatened. Block all the exits, he commanded his underlings. Wu Xin looked at them with disdain. You think he's an enhancement-type mage? He looks like nothing more than a low-level mage. He cracked his knuckles menacingly. Listen, kid, it seems you don't understand how the world works. Let me teach you a lesson you'll never forget. Let's retreat. We don't want to invite trouble. Let's not get involved in unnecessary trouble. Should we just run? He yelled. Hey, brat. He jumped down, leaving them stunned and speechless. Falling from above, he landed directly on Lady Dernier's carriage procession. His landing caught Ripton's attention. It also created quite a loud noise. Lady Dernier was startled, thinking, what was that? Everyone stared at him in shock. Wu Xing slowly stood up. In a moment, he was on the roof of the carriage. He let out an awkward laugh. This carriage is pretty sturdy. Haha. He jumped off the carriage and immediately ran out of sight. Everyone stared after him in disbelief. Rian shouted in surprise. What? Who was that kid? He suddenly yelled. Sir Ripton, stop. Suddenly, a sharp sword was held against Ruslin's neck. He turned around thinking, he's so fast. Ripton asked coldly, do you know whose carriage you just stepped on? Ruth whispered, I don't know. Suddenly, Ruth bowed his head apologetically. Even though I didn't do anything wrong, I apologize. The boy's next words left Lip stunned. I didn't know there was a nobleman in the carriage. Whatever the reason, I shouldn't have done that. I sincerely apologize for startling everyone. Ruth placed his hand on his chest earnestly. I'll be more careful from now on. So please forgive me this time. Lip stared at him in astonishment, then coldly replied, fine. Overjoyed, the boy chirped and ran off. Thank you, sir. Then I'll take my leave. Before Lip could gather his thoughts, Fry appeared behind him. Lip burst out laughing. Hey, ha! He asked mockingly. Did he actually give a proper apology? But why did you swing your sword at a child? Lip scoffed. Ha! The child from Liverpool said coldly. Despite falling from such a height, he landed perfectly. Liverpool's eyes darkened slightly. He couldn't be treated like an ordinary child. Angela retorted, hey, weren't you around his age when you single-handedly defeated several mid-level demons? Master Lipton, do you know how astonished I was? He continued, I believe that boy is also an exceptional talent with a promising future. What do you think about me personally training another one? Lipton sensed something. Snippets of their conversation reached the madam's ears. I'll keep my mouth shut. The madam watched them, thinking, interesting. Madam Dean, with a gentle step and voice, said, that boy seems strong and intelligent. Rian asked cheerfully, may I bring him back with us to recruit for our team? Reaper kicks Fran in the head. Oh, wow. Stop. She watches them, chuckling softly. Reaper asks coldly, Lady Dane, did you by any chance sustain any injuries from the impact just now? She replies smoothly, no, I'm quite all right. This carriage is rather sturdy, I must say. She thinks to herself, you reacted quite quickly. The lady looks at them and requests, now that we're almost there, and the weather is lovely, I'd like to take a short walk. Reaper responds gently, as you wish, my lady. The lady gives a satisfied smile. From a distance, she thinks, just as I predicted. Whoosh! Hiding in a small alcove in the wall. She's a noble, and that guy is quite powerful too. But this isn't a place for nobles. At least you let me go easily. He taps his head wearily. He turns and starts to leave. My luck's been terrible lately. I guess this is goodbye. Grid looked at them in surprise. Master, why are we here? I'd like to excuse myself. He panicked and interrupted. No. The client has a request. You should sit down and listen with me. The lady asked, "That boy?" He smiled and replied, "That's right. Although he looks small and ordinary on the outside. What? He's one of Overgeared's most outstanding talents." Grid cursed under his breath. "This guy?" She asked curiously. "He looks very young. If he's with Overgeared, then he must be an official magician, right?" He replied enthusiastically, "Of course, although he's only a level 7 magician." He said proudly, "Among his peers, he's the best." Grid thought to himself, "What the hell? Level 7? She nodded in agreement. "It seems Open has quite a few hidden talents." She spoke slowly and deliberately. "Recently, rumors about Open's black magician have been spreading. I hear he's an exceptionally talented magician. This incident has caused quite a stir. So I wanted to meet this rumored person at least once." He looked at her regretfully. What a shame. The black magician is out on a mission. Is that so? If that's the case, it can't be helped." She looked at the two of them and said, "It seems I've digressed. Well then, goodbye." They both remained silent. She looked at him with amusement. "Oh, you've never seen me, the owner of the carriage. Yet you say I was the one who fell?" "The carriage fell due to personal reasons," she declared. "This must be fate." She continued, "The owner of Opian. If it's that boy, then I can trust you." He stammered, "And KU for saying so, Duchess Dion." "Duchess," he thought to himself. "I thought she was just a noble. But she's a duchess?" The Duchess asked coldly, "Shall we get down to business, since I've spoken to Master Opian?" She continued, "You must have guessed why I came here personally. It's because of my second son, who is currently in Helios." The camera zoomed in on the serious faces of the people in the conversation. Rude spoke first. "So you mean the second prince?" Duchess Dion replied, "Indeed." She continued, "Simply put, my second son is in trouble in adapting to school life." She calls for Fran. Fran bows her head respectfully. "Yes, madam." The camera zooms in on the documents she's presenting. These are the Helios files, along with the student roster. And this is a report on the current situation. Ruth ponders in silence. Helios. How many times have I heard that name today? She continues the conversation. "It's only been a month since he enrolled, and we're not sure what happened during that time. But right now, my son, a dark shadow has fallen upon him. According to reports, he's being called a monster." He furrows his brows and asks, "What? Who dares to call the two princes of Athenan such a name? My son is not the only one suffering this fate." A grim scene appears. As you all know, once someone enters Helios, outsiders cannot interfere in the school's affairs, and I can't easily bring him out of there. She clenched her hands. He's a fragile child, vulnerable and lonely. The image of an isolated boy appeared with her words. Since he was young, he's lived in the shadow of his brothers, his long hair hiding his face, a gloomy and frightening sight. He never received the love or care he deserved. Even I couldn't give him the nurturing he needed. Thinking back now, that lonely figure returns. He became so weak that he couldn't express the pain he was carrying. She shared with a hint of sadness, "I just don't want him to suffer any more harm." Both Lippian and Ruth were momentarily taken aback by Diener's words. "More importantly, I cannot allow my son to be treated this way." Her expression hardened. "My request is simple," she demanded sternly. "Please, I beg you, help my son have a peaceful school life, a place where he's currently suffering." She pleaded desperately. "Please protect him," he calmly requested. "Now, explain yourself." He looked bewildered. What? Don't tell me you don't understand." "Clearly, I'm asking about this absurd situation we're in," he said with a smile. "It's exactly as you heard. The Duchess made a request, and you're the one to fulfill it," he said cheerfully. He was stunned. "No way. You're joking, right?" he exclaimed angrily. "Hold on." Putting the request aside, "I can't believe you introduced me looking like this, and the whole 7th level mage thing," he retorted angrily. "Did you expect me to casually say that I'm a dark mage right in front of them?" He angrily voiced his thoughts. "Just saying you're an official wizard is shocking enough. With that attitude, is he serious? He could have just not introduced me at all." He quipped, "There's nothing to worry about. Even though Keliath is the most prestigious magic school, the students there are still just half-baked, mere trainees." He exclaimed angrily, "I never agreed to this. Didn't you receive the report from Gehenna about the failure of Mission 7? We need to investigate what really happened there and find out what truly occurred." He calmly reassured, "All right, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. You just focus on this mission." He looked at the item in his hand and said angrily, "Are you kidding me? The young man quickly said, "Let me explain." Grid tilted his head and looked at him. "This is the end of our relationship." The young man was stunned. "Huh?" Grid turned away and said coldly, "Master, thank you for everything. It's been fun, but from now on, I'm leaving Obian." The young man panicked. "What?" He shouted anxiously. "No, you can't do this to me. I've invested so much in you, raised you, taken care of you. How can you betray me like this?" Grid dodged him and shouted, "That's rich. That's exactly what I wanted to say to you. How could you decide everything without even consulting me?" The young man said remorsefully, "It's because I knew you would never." Grid coldly replied, "Of course not. What's the point of even going to school?" He said wearily, "I told you, this is a requirement." He refused flatly. "No, I said I won't do it." He placed a hand on his heart and said sincerely, "My heart is as vast as the ocean, and all I want is to send you to school. No matter what." He thought, speechless. What's wrong with him? I can't figure him out. Jen suddenly exclaimed, "Goodness, what are you two doing?" He scratched his head tiredly and said, "Couldn't you at least knock before barging in?" She retorted angrily, "You're the one who wasn't listening. I definitely knocked." She softened her tone and said, "Anyway, both of you sit down. Don't embarrass the whole neighborhood." Yuta said thoughtfully, "So Ms. Zen knows about this too?" She comforted Yuta gently. "You don't need to be so stressed. Just think of it as going out for a little while." Zen continued, "So just think of this as a chance to relax. Enjoy the school life. And maybe even make some friends your own age." He sighed. "It wouldn't hurt, right? I don't need friends." He conceded, "Fine. If you really don't want to do it, then I won't force you." Even though the Imperial Duchess herself came to see us and entrusted us with this special mission, it's okay to refuse now. His eyes widened. "I might lose my head. Should I write my will first?" He reassured himself, "It's fine though, if it makes you feel better." Zen said softly, "Stop talking nonsense." Looking directly at him, Zen stated frankly, "It was my mistake to decide on Master's behalf without consulting you. Moreover, you'll be enrolled officially, and it might take a while." Rudd asked coldly, "What do you want to do?" Silence filled the room. Rudd wondered aloud, "So, the Duchess's second son. All I need to do is help him, right?" The two exclaimed joyfully, "Of course. It's no problem at all. As expected of Opin's brightest star. You're truly amazing," they said excitedly. "The academy uniform is ready, right? Shouldn't we pack our luggage first?" "I've already prepared everything." Rudd thought to himself, "Should I just leave?" He placed his hand on the table and looked at him, saying, "Rudd, even if we tell the Duchess you're a 7th Circle mage, the Academy doesn't know yet that you're an officially awakened mage." He said, looking troubled, "So, I can't stay long." Both said in unison, "That's right. That's true. But don't worry," they continued. "There won't be any danger." Wu thought to himself, "That's a lot of paperwork." They carefully instructed, "Just be careful around the professors, because they're also official wizards." He said it casually. "So this mission is both a vacation for black wizards." Gu looked dumbfounded as he listened. "And the first official mission for Gu and Crazy." He thought, scowling. He sure got away with words. Jen asked, "Is the food good there?" "We need to neatly pack our clothes by category, too." Flipping through the documents, he thought to himself, "But how should I help that kid? Should I just beat up the bullies?" The man in the picture radiated a murderous aura. His eyes seemed to want to devour the viewer alive. Looking at the picture, he frowned and thought, "Way too violent. Don't tell me." He placed the picture on the table. He declared resolutely, "This is the one bullying the Duchess' 2 princes." "What?" the other person retorted. "No." Sweating profusely, he continued, "It's not him. He's—" The terrifying man's identity was revealed. Li Du-sik, His Highness, the Prince of Athens. The ones suffering and being called monsters are the 2 princes of Athens.